thought I was shouting anyway. Thank you. Right, item 1 on the agenda tonight is apologies for absence. We have received in the office apologies from Mrs Cassar, Councillor Mrs Mason, Councillor Elliot Mason, Councillor John Mason and Councillor Mrs June Lumley. Are there any more?
Thank you, Chairman. Councillor Refty can't make it this evening.
Thank you. Is that it? Thank you. Item 2. Minutes of the meeting held on the 17th of October 2017 and of the extraordinary meeting held on the 28th of November 2017. We have got 2 inclusions which are on the agenda. So are they approved subject to the inclusions that are on the agenda? Thank you. Item 3, to receive declarations of interest. Councillor Rowe.
Thank you, Chairman. A non-pecuniary interest, please, on 6.2 in relation to Crown Hill public toilets by virtue of being a member of Raleigh Town Council.
Thank you. Councillor Spearing.
Thank you, Chairman. Exactly the same, section 6.2. Although I'm a member of Raleigh Town Council, I have not been involved in any of the discussions regarding the public toilets, being the portfolio holder for the environment.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Exactly the same, 6.2, non-pecuniary interest due to being a member of Raleigh Town Council. Thank you.
Councillor Jones.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Item 6.2 again, non-pecuniary interest as member of Raleigh Town Council, in particular Chairman of the Crown Hill Toilets Working Group.
Thank you. Councillor Carter.
Thank you, Chairman. Item 6.1 as a non-pecuniary as a member of Hotley Parish Council.
Councillor Hazel.
Say, Madam Chairman, except that I have not taken part in any discussions with the Parish Council. Thank you.
Thank you. Oh, sorry. Councillor Byrne.
Thank you. 6.2, by virtue of being a member of Raleigh Town Council.
Councillor.
Thank you, Chairman. I shall just say ditto.
Councillor.
6.2 as member of the Working Party on the Raleigh Town Council.
Thank you, Chairman. Item 6.2 as a member of Raleigh Town Council.
Sorry, Councillor.
Yeah, Madam Chairman. Yes, I'm a member of Raleigh Town Council, non-pecuniary interest on 6.2.
Have I missed anybody? All right, thank you. Item 4, announcements from the chairman, leader or head of paid service. I think Councillor Cutmore? No? Oh, it's me. This is my announcement. Right, I have been to a number of different events representing this council and our residents. I don't want to list them because if I mentioned them individually, it would just be a list of venues and it would not give you an understanding of the events. So, but I have had the opportunity of promoting our district for many different people inside and outside of our area. I've been to firework displays, school events, Scout and young people events, Christmas lights, carol concerts, sports awards, and I have judged the Christmas card competition, which I have to say was exceedingly difficult because I wanted all of them to win. It was wonderful to see the children in our district participating. I also attended 5 Remembrance Sunday services, which were very sobering events. As a resident, I've attended the Rayleigh and Rochford Light switch on in the past, having taken my children there and more recently, my grandchildren. So I was particularly honoured that last weekend I was privileged to help turn on the Rochford lights, and that will be a lasting memory for me. I've always believed in this community, and it is such an honour to meet the people that put so much into making our community what it is. We must recognise that our district is a caring and considerate district, and we are privileged to live here. Unfortunately, the carol concert had to be cancelled. That was due to the weather, although I did receive some comments afterwards that people were quite pleased to remain indoors in the warm. But I was very disappointed with that, so I'm sorry about that. But on the subject of a caring community, I just would like to mention that last weekend, Christmas presents that had been bought for children for a Christmas party in Rochford were stolen in a burglary. A Just Giving page was set up with a target of £250. The last time I looked, that target had reached over £900, plus a number of gifts and sweets donated. So in my opinion, what a wonderful community we have. Good guys 900, bad guys 1. And that leads me on to another resident who has needed help. And I will pass you over to Councillor Webb, who is going to just say something about this.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Many of you will be aware of the fundraising that has been done recently for a lady in our area who needed urgent and very expensive life-saving surgery. Sarah Gearing is a lady who has always looked to make the best out of her life, despite her very serious medical condition. Along with others in this chamber, I've known Sarah for many years. In fact, she's a godparent to my 2 eldest daughters. She's a very positive person who sought to help out others in the community. Earlier this year, her health descended to a new low, and she was told that she needed a life-saving operation that, including recovery time, would cost £130,000. This had to be funded privately and would take place in Spain, but she only had 6 weeks to raise the money. Her immediate thought was, how am I going to do this? It had taken friends of hers in a similar position over 6 months to raise a similar amount. As one of those involved in the campaign, when we started this journey, we did not know how far we would get in our fundraising efforts. All we knew is that we needed to raise £130,000 to give Sarah the chance to have her life-saving surgery in Spain. To this end, a whole range of fundraising activities were undertaken in Rochford, and I was even sponsored to dye my hair a very UKIP shade of purple. You can just about see the blue tinge to it now. As the campaign gathered momentum, we were amazed to see donations coming in from as far away as Australia and America. But what was most heartening was how the local community of Rochford pulled together. As the glue that was holding Sarah's body stopped working, it felt like the community was holding her together. People who didn't know her were getting behind the campaign, and everywhere in Rochford posters were up and collection tins were out. Sarah became a local celebrity, and London Southend Airport even provided free flights to Spain. I'm just going to hand over to Councillor Eaves now for his contribution.
Sorry, we both know Sarah very well. We wanted to actually acknowledge what has gone in here for this statement to be made. This is the point at which our community stepped up to the plate. People from all walks of life, young and old, friends and strangers, businesses, churches, individuals and indeed councillors, all came together to help a member of our community in her hour of need. The fundraising met the target of £130,000 on the day of her surgery, exactly 6 weeks from when the fundraising started. This brings me to the point of why we wanted to make this statement. Many people would comment that the community spirit has gone in our area. What Sarah's situation has highlighted is that the community spirit in the Rochford district is alive and well. Sarah told me that shortly before she left for her surgery abroad, that someone had spoken to her to tell her that they had previously put their house on the market specifically because they felt there was no community spirit in the area. Having witnessed what had happened for Sarah, that person took their house off of the market because they realised that there is actually a strong community spirit in this area. The operation in Spain was a success and Sarah is now recovering in Spain. Unfortunately, she has now since had an infection which has led to another operation and is not yet able to return to England. As a result of this, a third operation will be needed in about 6 months' time, and this, coupled with a significant increase in recovery time, means that an additional £70,000 still needs to be raised to finish the treatment. To this end, the campaign will be relaunched in the new year. I believe that this extraordinary outpouring of care and concern should not pass by unrecognised by our council. I hope that we can join together in expressing our pride in and gratitude to our community in acknowledging what has been done so far on Sarah's behalf. Finally, I would ask the council to join me in sending our best wishes to Sarah for a full recovery as she recuperates abroad in the hope that she'll be home soon. Thank you.
Thank you. Sarah was a neighbour of mine, and this event has proved what a caring community we have. And as I said before, I'm proud to be part of this. And to be chairman of this community is a very great honour. So, thank you. Right, item 5, public questions on notice. There are none. Item 6, presentation of petitions pursuant to Procedure Rule 11. David Miles here.
Yes.
Would you come forward, please, to make your presentation? It's got 5 minutes, yes? Yeah. You have 5 minutes for your presentation.
That'll be fine, thank you. Okay, thank you. Thank you, Madam Chairman and members. Public toilets are a basic need and generally used by residents, visitors, shoppers and workmen in our community. What is not visible is the distress and hardship that can be caused by the lack of these basic facilities for the more vulnerable residents. In effect, you are potentially preventing some residents, such as the disabled and those with hidden medical conditions, from shopping in our village. Bus drivers, sales representatives and many other visitors also rely on this facility. To say, as has been said, that if you need to go to the loo you can go to a cafe or pub and buy a drink shows an ignorance of the financial situation of many of our residents. By denying dignity, you are creating distress. My understanding is this initiative was first mooted by the Conservative administration with a questionable survey in September 2014. This took place over a total of 5 hours on 3 different days, including a period between 8 and 9 a.m, when unsurprisingly only one person was questioned. Unfortunately, the survey only indicates the number of people that responded to questions, and there is no indication of the total number of users in that period. However, 17 visits were recorded. Not an insignificant amount, but nevertheless, the volume of use is not the issue here. Let's be clear that the motive for this proposal is financial. It has nothing to do with helping or serving the community. The Council's own mission statement is, and I quote, "The Council's residents are at the heart of everything we do." Yet this very proposal is in stark contrast to this. The claim of cost of savings per annum is misleading. When parish or town councils take on the maintenance of a public toilet, the cost is merely transferred from one authority to another. No saving, just spin. Indeed, if you look at the capital cost being expended to encourage parish councils to take on the district's duties, the amount that has been committed to date negates any claim of savings. If the administration wanted to save money, it could do so by removing the excessive allowances it pays to its own leader, deputy leader and portfolio holders, a sum that in itself far exceeds the amount paid to maintain our toilets. Parishes should not be cajoled into taking over district facilities to allow cost shunting and avoid spending caps. There is no criticism of Hockley Parish Council here. Over 2,500 residents have asked that Hockley public toilets remain open. I ask you members to respect their wishes, allay their fears and give a reassurance today that you will protect the vulnerable, disabled and needy residents in line with your own mission statement. I understand that as member for Hockley, Councillor Eaves may be able to clarify the current situation. In closing, Please listen and reassure all those worried residents that Hockley public toilets are retained without any closure or loss of provision being forced on local residents and visitors at any time. Thank you.
Councillor Reeves.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Most of what we will be discussing tonight is just purely and simply going to be historical, because there's nothing that's going to change. So, what can this council learn from what has happened here? There are a number of things that, in my mind, have been opportunities missed, you may say, and maybe on some issues and some parts of this whole proposal actually been somewhat misleading to the council. When we first discussed this at council, I did actually propose an alternative which would have done the aim of the exercise, which is to save money. Not to pass money over, but to save money. I gave some options that were considered, and I had actually worked up myself, which were ending up with the extent of savings that we were told we needed to actually get to. Was this option ever considered? No. I find that quite strange, really, when we have a responsibility to actually be fiscally prudent, and we are given an option of something to consider that would give us the savings that we're after, that it is summarily dismissed. Every time that has been brought up, that has been so. That's one issue. Historically, the figures that the council was given with regards to the reports that we were to discuss when we were considering the options on the toilets. One of the things that I did question in the Members Advisory Group in particular was the accuracy of the figures that were actually presented to the council here. Now, I understand that figures have to be presented, but I would actually ask officers, councillors, anyone involved at all times, if they could do their utmost to try and be a little more accurate sometimes in what they actually put forward. I'll give you an example of one particular item which I have highlighted to the Members Advisory Group, which was regarding the figures which were actually put forward on the initial discussion regarding the money needing to be spent on the roof of Rayleigh town toilets.
Councillor, sorry to interrupt, but we're talking about Hockley toilets now, not Rayleigh. But the other thing is we have a maximum of 15 minutes for this debate, and you've taken nearly 4 minutes up, and there may be other people who want to speak.
Can I just finish with one thing then, Madam Chairman? I do apologise. I got an email, from Marcus Houghton. Reads as follows: should the new toilets not be in place, this is regarding Hockley, by April next year, but it is clear that Hockley Parish Council wish to progress the matter. For example, they have signed up to an agreement to lease. Then, as an interim measure, Rochford Council would ensure that they remained open until the handover was finalised. Can officers or portfolio holder confirm that the Hockley toilets will be kept open? Because that's a little bit ambiguous. We don't really have any certainty from that. Thank you.
Yeah, this is a member debate, Councillor, so I need to hear from the members. Anybody else? Councillor Sperring.
Thank you, Chairman. If you recall, we were given the directive to, because there is no statutory requirement for the council to maintain public toilets, Mr Houghton and myself were given the opportunity to come up with a scheme that would facilitate the toilets across the district remaining operational. The plan that we came up with, and I take on board the comments that I've heard so far, were scrutinised by the Investment Board. They were scrutinised by the various parish councils and the 151 officer, who confirmed that the viability of these projects did stack up and there were substantial savings to be made. With regard to Hockley, as we're talking about that at the moment, the waters have been slightly muddied in this respect because of the involvement in county, who have blown hot and cold as to the speed that they are going to develop or potentially develop the library site where the toilets are situated. We understand from Hockley Parish Council in the last few weeks that they have every intention of becoming involved with the maintenance of the public toilets, but we can't go any further until we get a decision effectively from county to say what they're going to do. But there is a willingness between both RDC and Hockley Parish Council to maintain the toilets, but this is not open-ended. We need to know what county is doing. Once we know what they're doing, then we can discuss a substantial proposal that we could then put via Hockley Parish Council and ourselves to the investment board to progress a situation so that the toilets do not get closed. I hope that clarifies the situation, Chairman.
Thank you. Councillor Hoy.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I don't really think it clarifies it at all. I believe Councillor Sperry is doing his best with a poor situation. I understand the problems here. Without a clarification, you don't know what time limit it might be. I'm still unclear. Have Hockley Parish Council said they will take over the toilets in Hockley? And have we said, depending on the time limit, we as a district council will run them until they take them over? I understand you might have a problem if in 3 years' time they're still not taken on, but can you give some sort of indication of time limit that we are sort of hoping for at the moment, or you're hoping for in this? Thank you.
Councillor Stone.
Yes, thanks, Chairman. So we are in a quandary. I think Hockley have quite clearly indicated that they do want to become involved in this, but until we can actually go to them as to what is available that we can negotiate, I think it's not open-ended. I think you'd be realistically talking a maximum of 1 year. That's a realistic assessment. If nothing has been substantiated and confirmed by then, I think then we'll have to look at the whole situation. But every indication we've had is that that will not be the situation. Every indication we've had is that a decision as to what will happen will be in April from county, and once we know what their decision is, then we can make a suitable business case to the investment board with what we feel is the way ahead.
Thank you. You can come back.
Thank you, Councillor Sperry. I think that's a bit clearer. Could I... I'm not sure how to word this. Obviously, we've got 3 options written down, and I'm not sure any of them actually fit what we as members possibly want, which is a certainty at April the toilets don't close immediately. I know you've said that you probably won't, but probably don't become definitely necessarily. That was all.
To make it very clear, Chairman, they will not shut in April. Once we know what is going on, as I keep saying, we will make whatever business case is appropriate to the investment board to ensure, wherever possible, we can maintain the toilets in Hockley as we have done in Holbridge and Rayleigh and Rochford. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you. That seems very clear to me. Yeah, thank you. Councillor Hookway.
Thank you, Councillor Sperry. Just to confirm this, that no decision had been made about the Hockley toilets until it's brought before the investment board after April.
Chairman, if we're in a position to make any views, any comments before that, we get any vibes from county, any indications, we will bring it to the investment board at the earliest opportunity. It's not in anybody's interest to prolong this agony any longer. We want to resolve it. We've resolved it with 3 parish, or 1 town and 2 parish councils. We want to do the same with the others. And as soon as we're in a position to put something substantial together, I can assure you we will bring it to the investment board.
Thank you. Are you happy with that? Yes. Anybody else? So we close the debate now, and we will decide how to respond to the petition. Councillor Cutmore.
Chairman, I've listened to the prevarication by some of the councillors here, and
I think the showboating that's gone on. But having said that, Chairman, I think the second item where we're not taking any action due to the reasons put forward in this meeting. And I think I would move that now. Thank you. And I'd like
Do I have a second? Thank you. So, is that agreed? Agreed. Is he here? Okay, we will move on to item 6.2, which is the petition for Crown Hill public toilets. So is Mr. Richard Lambourne here? You have 5 minutes for your presentation.
Where did that come from? Down there. Oh. All right, Madam Chairman, ladies and gentlemen, members. This petition is questioning the transfer of the public toilets in Crown Hill to Rayleigh Town Council and the building of a new toilet at a reported cost of $155,000. Before this transfer takes place, we, the public, need to be assured that this is, firstly, that this is the most cost-effective solution. That is why we would like to see costings for the alternative, i.e. refurbish the existing toilets and retain them as the public toilet in that site. 2, are the running costs that RTC are taking on known and sustainable by them? I have tried by freedom of information requests to obtain this information, and they have failed to produce a projection of costs and whether there will be a need for a precept increase for Rayleigh. If there is, of course, that will mean an overall increase in the council tax for all of Rayleigh. So, before any transfer takes place, this council should consider whether it is the most cost-effective solution for the council taxpayer, and if that needs further investigation, the council should ask the review committee to analyse the proposal and alternatives to be sure there is no wasting of public money. Thank you.
Thank you. Right, we now start the debate and we have a maximum of 15 minutes. Anybody wish to talk on that? Councillor Burton.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I'm personally disappointed to see Council debating this petition tonight. Something I didn't think I'd find myself saying, and my disappointment stems from a number of factors. Firstly, as the members will be aware, this particular petition did not reach the threshold whereby it should be debated at full council. And whilst I fully appreciate that a separate, similar petition attracted a greater number of signatures, that should not automatically mean that this particular petition is also debated at full council. Whilst I fully support and respect the democratic practice of petitioning, I am concerned as a council tonight we are setting a precedent where even if a number of signatures does not meet the criteria required to debate the subject matter at full council, a decision will be taken as to whether or not it actually is. And that decision could ultimately be regarded as purely subjective and one that could lead to members of the public questioning this council's motives and integrity. And I would like to suggest that the council sticks to its council procedure rules with regards to the handling of future petitions. With regards to the actual number of signatures for this petition, I note that there are multiple duplications of names, and therefore the total numbers of signatures, as stated, is misleading and incorrect. And whilst I stated a moment ago that the council's approach to petitions may lead to the council's motives and integrity coming into question, likewise a petition that contains multiple duplications could also be regarded as dubious. It's stated in point 1.4 that residents would like the refurbishment of the existing building and continuing maintenance under RDC's existing cleaning contract. The term residents for the purpose of this topic is in relation to the generous number of 977 signatures and actually represents less than 3% of the town's population. I personally believe that many more are not actually concerned about who maintains the cleanliness, provided the facilities are there and they're kept clean. The two issues that most people I spoke to had were that they did not want to see an attractive historical building being demolished, and they did not want to lose a much valued public convenience. Both Rochford District Council and Rayleigh Town Council have worked together to ensure that neither of these is an option, and I believe that many people in Rayleigh will be happy to hear that. Instead, Rayleigh will be looking to receive new, free-to-use, environmentally friendly public toilets that will offer better facilities, arguably safer environments, and longer operational times, whilst at the same time it's hoped that the existing building will receive some much-needed refurbishment and a new occupant which may benefit the town. Rochford District Council and Rayleigh Town Council wasted no time in working together to deal with the issues and concerns that both councils envisaged regarding this emotive subject, and the proposed outcome is favourable to both councils. Councillors have also worked hard to ensure that the new building offers a modern, clean facility in a building that will aesthetically fit within its surroundings. Some members will be aware how important this proposal was to me personally when it was announced. I too did not want to see or felt the need for a new facility. I too wanted the existing building to be significantly renovated and modernised, but the truth is it's not a viable option, and the reality of pursuing that avenue could ultimately result in both the loss of toilets altogether and the loss of what appears to be a popular, albeit small town centre building. Whilst I thank Mr Lambourne for his efforts in drawing this subject to the public's attention, on this occasion I must say I'm pleased with the proposals put forward, which I believe are in the town's best interests, and I hope that will be supported by this council.
Thank you. Anybody else want to speak on this?
Thank you, Chairman.
Bearing in mind, please, that other people may want to speak, and we do only have a limited time.
Only got 3 lines.
Thank you.
With the recommendations that are on the 2.4, I'd like to refer this decision to the review committee to check the costings were done correctly, please.
Don't think that.
We're still debating at the moment, so that's an observation.
Yeah, we're debating this at the moment. We can't make, that's an observation, we can't make the decision on that. Anybody else want to speak on this? Councillor Cutmore.
Chairman, I actually find myself as the longest serving member in this House now. But I can remember when we originally debated refurbishment of the toilets at Crown Hill. And I can remember a very lively debate where some interesting language was used about motions and other things. But having said that, I know that when we actually looked at the cost of refurbishment, at that time, and probably today as well, because of the cost of the fittings and fixtures and the cost of the building itself, it was actually as much as a 4-bedroom house at that time, which we thought unbelievable, but that was true. And councillors are right in saying the cost of refurbishment of a toilet is an awful lot of money.
How much?
May I continue, Chairman?
Please.
Cost of refurbishing a toilet is an awful lot of money. What we're offering the people of Rayleigh is continued use of that building for other purposes and brand new purpose-built toilets that they will enjoy, and it will be much better to use than what we have at the moment. Chairman, I would like to move the second item on that list there. Excuse me, I'm losing my voice. Not taking the action requested for reasons put forward in the debate. Bearing in mind, Chairman, we've already made the decision. And you can't reverse a decision within 6 months of it. Thank you.
So, does anybody else wish to say anything? And then we'll close the debate. All right, I now close the debate, and we've got. Councillor Cutmore, can you move this again, please? And right, and can I have a seconder? Councillor. And that wasn't part of the debate. That was an observation.
That wasn't observation. Sorry, Madam Chairman. That was really a motion to take it forward to review council, to the review committee. Sorry.
This is. We were debating on this, and we've got a motion and we've got a seconder. So can we have a vote on that, please?
Can you confirm who seconded Councillor Cutmore's motion then, please? Yeah.
Councillor Rowe has seconded it. So we've got a motion, we've got a seconder. Can we have a vote on it, please? Is that agreed?
May my vote be recorded against, please?
Chairman, I think possibly in this circumstance a show of hands might be appropriate, so that we could see who...
Can we see who's against? I think we've seen the hands. All right, hands up, who's against? Yeah, we've got that. That is passed. Right, we're going to item 7 now. Members' questions on notice, and there are none. Number 8, business from the last council meeting. There is none. Item number 9, to note the minutes of executive and committee meetings held between the period the 7th of October to the 1st of December 2017 as noted. Noted. Item 10, to consider any reports from the executive and committees to council. Number 1, report of the review committee, and that is Councillor Burton, please.
Thank you. Members will have seen the Treasury Management Mid-Year Review Report with the recommendation to note its contents. I'm sure that most members will be aware that this is one of 3 regular reports that the Review Committee has the chance to scrutinise with regards to the Council's Treasury Management activity. The report is fairly self-explanatory. However, if anyone has any questions regarding any aspect of the report, we do have Naomi Lucas, our Section 151 officer, and Councillor Simon Smith, portfolio holder for finance, just in case anyone has any questions for them, and I'm sure they'll be happy to help if anyone has any. Thank you very much.
Are there any questions? Right, so it's proposed that the Council resolves that the Treasury Management Mid-Year Report be noted. Agreed. And item 10.2 is the report of the Review Committee on Member Learning and Development. Councillor Weston, please.
Thank you. Thank you, Chairman. Members, you've read the report. This item is to recommend to full council the decision made at the last Standards Committee to set up a subcommittee to look at the future training for the next municipal year. The subcommittee comprises of 4 members of the Standards Committee, myself, Councillor Mrs Mason, Councillor FD and Councillor Stanley, and also an independent person. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you. Any questions? So, sorry, Councillor.
Thank you, Chairman. I don't wish to labour the point too much, but recently I have been unable to attend a couple of mandatory training sessions through no fault of my own. Well, perhaps it was my fault. I fell over and hurt myself, and as a result, I've been attending hospital and so on and so forth. Now, a number of years ago, there was the opportunity for people like myself who had missed a training session to do a catch-up. Now, I'm in the process at the moment of applying for dispensation so that I can eventually either take part in the Development Committee or act as a substitute for a member of that committee. But this involves the council in such a long-winded process that I think that the programme for member learning and development should be amended somewhere along the line to take notice of this sort of thing, where members cannot attend a mandatory training session, to have a fairly informal catch-up session rather than going through the whole process of a tribunal. Sounds like I'm on trial.
Thank you. Any other comments? Councillor Cutmore.
Chairman, I think Councillor Oaten makes a good point, in as much as it is a bit onerous, if you like, to do that. And of course, if you're receiving the training in any event, whether you receive it at the time or later, I don't think it makes it all look. But I think one of the things that the working party could consider is that exact point that he's making there. So I see no reason why the working party couldn't do that. So I'm sure that will be taken forward, Chairman.
Chairman, yes, that would be fine. Thank you, Councillor Cutmore.
Thank you. So the recommendations, are they agreed? Right. Item 11, report on urgent decisions. There are none. Item 12, report of the leader on the work of the executive. Councillor Cutmore.
Thank you, Chairman. I'll see if the voice holds out. Excuse me. This is the third ordinary council meeting of the 2017-18 municipal year, and I would like to welcome all members. Since the meeting on the 17th of October, the executive has met twice, during which considerations included the Greater Essex 100% business rate pilot bid, the process for awarding voluntary sector grants for 2018-19, the Q2 17-18 financial management and performance report, discretionary rate relief, and the economic growth strategy 2017. Other matters that my colleagues and I on the executive have dealt with include delegating authority to the Assistant Director of Environmental Services to agree sponsorship of roundabouts that will cover costs of maintenance and landscaping, and submitting a formal response to the Department for Communities and Local Government consultation on planning for the right homes in the right places. As always, through you, Madam Chairman, I will be happy to take any questions from members in respect of the work of the executive, and I'm sure my executive colleagues will be happy to contribute where appropriate. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Cutmore. Are there any questions? Is that noted then, members? Thank you. Item 13, motions on notice. There are none. Item 14, Local Council Tax Support Scheme 2018-19. Perhaps our 151 officer present that. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman. So it's just to outline the report which you have in front of you in terms of the local council tax scheme that's proposed for the next financial year. I think you'll be aware that the council is required to set a scheme in line with government regulations. The scheme is essentially the same as the one that is currently in place. The only difference is that an inflationary uplift is proposed in terms of the personal allowance and how that's calculated for the scheme. So, yeah, there's not a huge amount of change to report to council at this time. So, if anyone's got any questions, I'd be happy to take them.
Councillor Hoy.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Apologies for this question. It will be in the report. I have read it, and I read it on the reading for the third time. The words were starting to blur together, I'm afraid. It's quite a complex report. Could you just confirm whether or not self-employed people will be assessed on the basis that they would be working a 35-hour week at the minimum wage? Sorry, my microphone was not.
As you say, the scheme is highly complex, and I think on the matter of any specifics, I would like to take those away and refer back to the our experts in this field and come back to you at a later point. But I'm happy to follow up any individual queries. But the scheme is so complex, I wouldn't like to give a wrong answer at this stage.
Are you happy with that? Yes.
Apologies for asking the question so much.
Nobody else? So the recommendation... Oh, sorry, Councillor Stanley. No? So the recommendation is that the LCTS scheme for 2018-19 be approved to come in effect from the 1st of April 2018. Is that agreed?
Can my vote be recorded as abstaining, please, on this?
Item 15 is the social media policy for members. I think, Angela Law, you're going to present that.
Thank you, Chairman.
Members, the social media policy has been updated and amended to provide guidance to members when using social media as a communication tool. The Council recognises the increase in the use of social media and encourages the use of it. This policy is guidance for members when using it. The policy makes clear that online activities can be covered by the Code of Conduct, and the guidance is intended to reduce the risk of members breaching the code. The Council has a duty to promote and maintain high standards of conduct by members under the Localism Act, and this policy assists in enforcing the obligations set out in the Code of Conduct. There's been some concerns with regards to the policy There's been some concerns with regards that the policy effectively limits the councillors to speak on council matters. This policy, to make clear, does not stop members from having an opinion on council matters, whether they're in agreement with them or not. Having taken into consideration members' concerns, I would recommend the additional following amendments. Number 1, members are allowed to criticise and challenge the council, and as such, these comments are usually of a negative nature. Therefore, I would recommend the removal of the word negative on page 3 of bullet point number 5.
Chairman, it's
not,
Chairman, at this point, I can't get the mic working. Sorry, thanks, Sean. Chairman, at this point, it's an officer report to the council. The officer has got recommendations within that report, but at this point, it stands as an officer report, and they can suggest adjustments to it if they wish, Chairman.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. And in relation to the second paragraph on page 2, I would recommend the council delete this clause, as upon reflection, a member can be viewed to be acting in their official capacity, even when using personal accounts. That's my presentation, Chairman. Thank you.
Sorry, Chairman, could Mr. Law repeat the first amendment?
I was going to ask the same thing. Can you just confirm what pages these are, please?
On page 3, bullet point
15.3.
Sorry, yes, 50. Sorry, I'm reading off my own. 15.3, bullet point number 5, where it says, where it starts, use social media in any way to attack, insult, abuse, defame, or otherwise make negative. I'm proposing we take out the word negative, as members have the right to criticise and challenge, and criticisms and challenge can have a negative undertone. So.
Yeah, thank you. I think that is page 15.5, the fifth. So I think we were all a little bit lost there, but have you found it? So it's page 3, but it's 15.5, and it's the use social media in any way. So we want to take that out.
Word negative out.
The word negative out. And the second one again was?
Chairman, the second one is on page 15.4. The second paragraph down is the suggestion that consider keeping online accounts as councillors separate to that as your personal accounts on reflection, and having seen on reflection, if you're acting in your official capacity, it really wouldn't matter if you're using your personal account or not.
Sorry, I lost with that again. Can you give us the page
To delete
number?
the whole paragraph, Chairman.
Yeah. What page was that?
15.4, second paragraph down. Yes, that's correct, Chairman.
You want to delete that whole
Yes.
paragraph?
Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you. Right. Are we all clear with that now, I think? Any comments? Any? Oh, yeah, Councillor Rowe, sorry.
Thank you, Chairman.
First and foremost, I'd like to thank our AD for Legal Services for all the hard work she's put into this social media policy, and after all, it is to protect us as councillors. So therefore, I propose that this council resolves that the proposed amendments, including those mentioned tonight, to the social media policy for members be approved by this council. Thank you.
Do you have a seconder? Councillor Steptoe.
Chair, I'm happy to second that, but I reserve the right to speak at the end of the debate.
Right, thank you. So, I think the next person to speak was Councillor High. Councillor Mr.
Sorry, sorry, I'm slightly deaf in one ear at the moment. I think there's a rush of ear infections going around. I'm sharing this with Councillor Scrutton, Mr. Scrutton, sorry, promotion there. I'm sure we've got different ears. I think Ms Laura's been very busy with emails from various councillors over the last week concerning this, and certainly she's had emails with me and a conversation with me which I expressed my concerns, and one of those concerns was around the word negative, which she has now suggested be withdrawn from the policy. I think that goes a long way to making me happier on this. I've still got concerns that it doesn't mention that the councillors, I think there should be a corollary to that, in that councillors have a duty to hold the council to account as well, which isn't specifically or explicitly mentioned in the policy, which I think would have been good to have done so. And again, I would have. This has the changes have come about through councillors corresponding with Ms Law and giving their concerns. I think it would have been better, and perhaps in future it should be done in such a way that there is an open review by councillors, which happened when this policy was first introduced. Councillors were given an opportunity to read the policy and send suggested changes for the policy, and I think perhaps only 2 councillors did do that last time, but at least there was the opportunity to do it, which, although there wasn't officially this time, it does appear to have happened. At the moment, I'm still debating whether or not to support the motion as is, because it still doesn't quite go as far as I would like it to go, but I'll see what other members say. Thank you.
Councillor Wilson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The question that I've got really is that obviously social media is becoming more pervasive, and that's what the report says. But how many complaints have actually been made against the council or against councillors specifically, and are there more or less complaints being made? Thanks.
Councillor Wilson, there's perhaps complaints that I deal with that doesn't come before members, because having investigated, looked at it, might have been made in that councillor's personal capacity, so that complaint stopped at the door and it doesn't go any further. Formally, at the moment, there has been one complaint that's progressed to Standards Committee, and that has been dealt with, and sanctions have been laid down by the Standards Committee on that. I couldn't give you a number on how many complaints I have, but we at Standards Committee, there is an annual log, that is a report on complaints received.
Thank you. So if there's nobody else, Councillor... Oh, sorry, Councillor Hookway.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I too welcome the change that the officer has made in relation to the word negative, and that was a matter of some concern to not only myself but other councillors who expressed an opinion on this. I also do have another concern in relation to how policy should refer to our Acts of Parliament and the law. We do reference policy to the law when it comes into context with that, and I think we should potentially be looking to do this in relation to this. It has been mentioned amongst councillors in relation to the Human Rights Act and the freedom of expression, and I think we should be in our policy be referencing to the law when it has a bearing on that policy. So I would like to have seen that there was a reference to the freedom of expression as expressed in the Human Rights Act 1998, and also to express the view that councillors are, guided by the 7 Nolan principles, and that should have also really been in the policy as well, so that we are referencing to our guidance in that respect as well. So the issues that I have is that we don't want dubious claims being made against councillors, which ultimately would be a cost on the council if it got to the point of hearings. So we should be making sure that there isn't the opportunity for people to do that. Thank you.
Yes, no.
Thank you for allowing me to come back.
Sorry, Councillor Hoyle.
sorry.
Sorry, Councillor Hoyle. Did you want to answer that?
Yes. With reference to Councillor Hookway's 3 points in relation to making reference to legislation, I've tried to make this non-legalese for members and easy to understand. Members were actually given the opportunity to attend training, and reference to the freedom of expression and training on that was given at the training. Not all policy will make reference to legislation. However, I would say that the Article 10, which you're referring to, is actually not an absolute right but a qualified one, and this guidance is to help you to use social media responsibly, so that you can still receive the protection under that. There are limitations to the Article 10 human freedom of expression rights, and if you abuse that or fall foul of any laws or discrimination laws that could find you breach code, that would probably, you may, I'm not saying you definitely will, you may find that you won't be protected by the Human Rights Act. In relation to the 7 Nolan principles, I would say that is already in our constitution on page 5.9. I don't see a need to make specific reference to it in this policy, as it underpins the code of conduct and it assists the enforcement of the code. And in relation to dubious complaints, Councillor Hookway, as much as I would like to stop dubious complaints coming into the council, I'm afraid no matter what policy I introduce, that is not going to stop residents putting in dubious complaints. As I've said to Councillor Wilson, there has been certain complaints that perhaps you members don't see. As a monitoring officer, I do deal with and stop at the door before it progresses to investigation stage. Thank you.
Thank you. Did you want to speak, Councillor High?
Sorry, thank you, Madam Chairman, for allowing me to speak in. I was just wondering if Councillor Mrs Rowe would consider adding a clause to her motion, which may include wordings along the line of the Human Rights Act allows freedom of expression. This is a right for all councillors. I can see her shaking her head, so I won't go any further. It's clear she will not accept the explicit statement there. Thank you.
The Article 10 of the Human Rights Act is qualified. It starts off giving a right to freedom of expression, but if I may indulge for one moment, I'll read out paragraph 2 of Article 10, which says, "The exercise of these freedoms, since it carries with it duties and responsibilities, may be subject to such formalities, conditions, restrictions or penalties as are prescribed by law and are necessary in a democratic society, in the interests of national security, territorial integrity or public safety, for the prevention of disorder or crime, for the protection of health or morals, for the protection of the reputation or rights of others, for preventing the disclosure of information received in confidence, or for maintaining the authority and impartiality of the judiciary. I would therefore suggest that suggest that the right of freedom of expression is absolute is misguided.
Thank you. Councillor Steptoe.
Oh, sorry, apologies.
Thank you, Chair. I'd like to thank Angela and her team for the lot of hard work that's gone into this. I know how much how long it's taken and how much work and how many emails she's had with queries and questions about it. So thank you for that. I think the policy is exceptionally good guidance for councillors, and I'm sure there's no councillor here that would want to cause upset to any resident or mislead or be racist or sexist or anything in their things. But we've got to be very wary with social media. It changes day by day. It's quicker and it's immediate and it's always there. I find it difficult to keep up with it all, and I think this is exceptionally good guidance, and I'm happy to second the motion.
Thank you. So we've got a motion on and a seconder, subject to the amendments that has been put through here. Is that agreed? Agreed. Anyone against?
You're doing a vote.
Anyone against? Anyone abstaining? Thank you. That is carried. Item 16 now, attendance at the Royal Garden Party. Does anybody want to say anything on this? Right, if you can then.
Yeah, thank you, Chairman. So 4 Rochford District Council members are currently equally eligible to attend a Royal Garden Party. It's usual for the council to be allocated 1 or 2 places plus guests each year, and therefore the report suggests that the order of attendance in coming years be agreed by drawing a random lot, with agreement to use of the civic car and driver to transport attendees to the garden party. So we have here the names in an envelope for the chairman to draw if council's agreed with that approach, Chairman.
Agreed.
Take one at a time and read them out.
The first one is, if I can open it, Councillor Toby Mountain. Congratulations. And the second one is Councillor Griffin.
Thank you.
Okay, so well done, congratulations. Oh, and the third one. All right. They're a bit difficult to open. Councillor Hazelwood. Which leaves the last one. Be Councillor Sperring. Because I've been told to. Yeah. Yeah. No, you can see what I've got to say. All right. Right, that concludes the business for tonight, so I will close the meeting at 8:39. I would like you to, anybody, to join me upstairs for refreshments and some drinks to start our celebration for Christmas, and I'd be pleased to see all of you up there. Thank you. And happy Christmas to you all.